All right, hello and welcome again. Here another week. This is I said in the first video we did, me and Olivia and another individual as well. Trinette was with us the first time, and I was kind of thinking, I don't really have like a, a title for this particular thing. Like I really don't for any of them, but really this is just pretty much extension of my total brand, which is the Millennials Guide to Survival. It's all just incorporated into that. Whether I do this or audio podcast, Q&A thing, whatever it is, it's all pretty much a part of that. So, but I'm over here. I'm Jonathan Cabral, sexologist, and Olivia Brothers, sexologists are here. Today we're talking about the movie that pretty much everybody's talking about right now, 365 Days. Um, I love when like a movie or a TV show or something like this comes out because I know exactly what I'm going to talk about. It makes it so much easier. I don't have to think of a subject, and put a lot of like spend having the whole week thinking of something and trying to formulate the whole idea, whatever, put it together. I can just go watch, observe, take a note, and just talk about it. It's so much easier. So I love that. Of course, we'll probably give us some spoilers. So I'll say now. I forget to say at the beginning all the time, but I'll say this time at the beginning. Spoiler alert, okay? So for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. But this is a movie based on a trilogy of book series by a Polish writer. I forget her name, but the movie is largely a Polish production. It's the writer said she was inspired by 50 Shades of Grey, so take that however you want it. But the story is pretty much about a rich mafia leader who um, basically has this vision of this woman. It's kind of between reading the synopsis. I had to go back and after watching the movie, read the plot line to kind of catch a couple of details, kind of make sense of some things. But I believe he actually did see her on the beach at some point in his life, or he imagined her. Either way, he sees this woman one day who looks just like this woman he's envisioned for the past 5 years, and kidnaps her and gives her a year to fall in love with him. That's pretty much the gist of the storyline. Um, it is I believe it was shot in Poland as well, I think, or somewhere in Europe. It's I love European films in general because they're just very I feel they're always just like aesthetically beautiful, and the landscape and everything, the scenery in the movie is all very beautiful, beautiful thing to look at. Um, but I always just kind of like European cinema and art and fashion, food and everything. They just have like a finesse, I think, from Italy to France, wherever. I just kind of love the way they do their style. I just always love that. But so anyway, the film was directed by a man and a woman, which I found very interesting because you kind of see and watching the movie personally for me. I don't know about for you, Olivia, but I kind of saw both sensibilities, because I've seen films like this directed and written solely by women, and films like this created solely by men. And so I can I've seen like, even though they're the same genre, there tend to be some kind of, to me, some very noticeable differences. But I kind of saw like the merging of the two together, and it didn't, to me, it did feel all conflicted. I really thought they complemented each other well. But anyway, so Olivia, what did you think about the movie?
My honest opinion of the movie,
Yeah,
like it.
you didn't like it?
Uh, I didn't like yeah, I didn't like it. I mean, I understood it. I understood where they were coming from with the thought of 50 Shades of Grey. I understood the whole concept.
Could you maybe turn your mic up a little bit?
Oh, sorry.
You sound just a little bit lower than normal.
Oh, no. Okay.
Slightly.
Is that better? Is that better?
Probably.
No.
Yes.
Let me move it up some then. Maybe that's better. So I definitely, yeah, the movie for me was not a big thrill, I guess, only because I guess I had saw 50 Shades of Grey. This was a totally different type of movie. I guess it was the plot line that left me flat. That's why I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm. How's that exactly? What about it?
Because, well, you already said spoiler alert. The end really disappointed me. Like
What
I didn't
disappointed
want
you?
the end to end that way.
What
I
disappointed
didn't
you?
want it that way. The ending.
Oh, well, speaking of, I guess we're just kind of, well, I'll get to that later on, I think maybe.
Uh,
Well, I'll just say now. She's alive. I'm just Googling.
oh, okay,
Because
okay.
like I said, it is a
Like,
trilogy.
wait a minute.
Yeah, it is. I thought
Yeah.
the same way. I was like, what, really? So, of course, I had to go on Google immediately after it
Okay.
ended. And because I knew it
Okay.
was a trilogy, so I'm like, okay, is it just going to follow him doing this kind of thing
Uh-huh.
again? Like, like the series You, like he just goes from woman to woman, whatever, stalking them. But no, she is alive. She was kidnapped
Oh,
by the
thank you.
rival mafia family. Um,
Okay. Good.
yeah, so she's alive, and I'll get to some more details of that later. But yeah, she's alive. So you didn't like the way it ended.
Wait a minute. This is not going to be. I can't watch anymore because I was so heartbroken. I was like, this is a horrible movie. If this is how it ends.
Right. So up until that point, though, did you? I mean, just overall, I mean, did you like it? Did you think it was worth the hype that everybody's kind of making of it?
The sex scenes were good. You could tell when you were saying it's directed by a man and a woman. That part was good because they gave both perspectives of it. I feel like Netflix was definitely being more generous to the men by letting the women's whole body be shown versus the man's.
Which is always the case, yeah.
Yeah, which is the case. But I did like how she was sassy back. Like she didn't just like be timid and just because of the situation she was in. She
Mhm.
fought him back at every single point. So that part I did like.
And he liked that about her during the scene where he'd already had her for like a few days or so, whatever, and they were going from Sicily to somewhere. I forget where they were going at that point, but she was being pretty much carried onto the plane, punching,
Yes.
screaming, and there was one guy said she's got quite a temper. He's like, well, at least I won't get bored. So yeah, she definitely gave him a hard run the whole time. Like you said, did not cower away at all. She definitely, and she knew what she wanted, of course. He despite as forceful as he was in the whole kidnapping, he was still sort of a gentleman to a degree in that he did not force himself on her sexually. Besides him handling her a bit roughly whenever she tried to run away or whatever, but he never did. He made it clear to her that he was not going to have sex with her until she was ready, until she pretty much gave her consent to that degree. So to that degree, he was, a gentleman, whatever. But yeah, considering it is European cinema, I was kind of curious if they were going to go all the way to full frontal male
Mm-hmm.
nudity because they just, like I said, they tend to be a bit more daring, I guess, in a lot of ways than we are even today. But yeah, they did the whole tease thing. You just pretty much get the camera down to like the lower abdomen, and that's pretty much they get very close. There are a few parts that really kind of made me question as to whether or not the sex was unsimulated, and thinking maybe it actually might have been real because I mean it could have been like a camera thing, it could have been something else, but there are certain parts where, well, particularly where the stewardess was giving him fellatio, it did kind of look like they should have parted the shaft a bit, just slightly, ever so slightly. you know, it looked like it was there. So, and because the sex did look actually very realistic, there was a point where then you kind of wonder if it was, comparing those two things together, if it was actually maybe real. I don't know, who knows? But like, yeah, as you were saying into that scene, it definitely. I mean, I was impressed honestly, just because a lot of times you see these different films, whatnot, and you see like the male character is supposed to be very charismatic, and he has his prowess. He gets any woman he wants, and then they show them in bed. He just has like this horrible technique. It's just really awkward and doesn't look right, and it's just kind of cringeworthy. But like this is like I was like, you're really like, I mean, like I said, just keep it real. Like you mean what you're doing. Like the technique was like actually on point. I was like, wow. So that I actually was just impressed. They have today a lot of they have these, they call it intimacy coordinators. I think they call them on movie sets to help they want to make sure everybody's comfortable with what they're doing, but also help kind of, kind of be like the role like a choreographer will play, pretty much coordinating these scenes nowadays. So I mean, I think that's cool. It's interesting. It opens up a new job market. It's interesting though. But so talking about if a movie like this, even like today, people are going to talk about it's going to bring up a lot of different types of subjects. So I want to ask. I know pretty much my side and pretty much in general the male side. So of course I want to ask you, do you, for one, is this film pretty much representative of the female fantasy?
Well, it could be the female fantasy of having a strong, dominant, rich, powerful man. Yes, that is definitely a woman's fantasy, having that powerful, rich man. Being taken by a man definitely would be something that's a fantasy, I guess. Definitely the bondage is a fantasy, all of that. What came up to me though, that the first thing I thought of was Stockholm Syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first thing I came when he was like, "You're mine. I'm gonna give you 365 days to fall in love with me," and I was just, it's gonna happen because of Stockholm Syndrome. Like most people who are kidnapped like that, there's some type of, you fall in love with your captor, even if it's not sexually. There's something that you love about them, or you depend on them for. So that part, I was like, but everything else, yeah, I thought was something that a woman could definitely fantasize about. I think the one that got me, that was more the best fantasy, was the one when they were on the boat and they were just all over the boat. Like that's definitely a fantasy that a lot of women would want to have.
Right. Yeah, I thought the exact same thing in Stockholm Syndrome, because it's like just starting out the movie, not knowing anything about it really, for not knowing the plot, not knowing what was going to happen at all throughout, the story. I just knew from the beginning, of course. I mean, obviously, it was an erotic drama. We knew they were going to connect at some point in some way, but yeah, I knew it has been proven. I mean, shown that there have been people who are held by longtime captors typically do develop, what's called Stockholm Syndrome. And they identify with their captor, they even form this sort of protectiveness over them, to where it's like they, beyond the fear or shame someone might feel, they don't want to get them in trouble, like genuinely want to keep them safe. And it's just, it's weird psychological thing that happens if you're held by someone long enough. People say the same thing about like Beauty and the Beast, Phantom of the Opera. Could have been said about the series You. If he had his kept his people, or kept back, and any of the women long enough in those cages, to where it could have been the exact same situation. But so I guess the next question, I guess, would be, so do you think the whole idea of it is just, do you think it's offensive for women? Kind of like it's anti, female thing in a way, or some people have said that it's offensive to women, given that she was kidnapped, or that glorifies kidnapping and sexual violence and so on. I mean, do you agree with that?
Well, in today's climate, with a lot of women being taken, and the sex sex trade industry and all of that stuff, I think yes, on that end. I do think that nowadays women would be more leery, like they would be trying to escape more than what she did. It truly was a fantasy. I feel like for her, her whole thing was her relationship was already bad. So I think that's what lent her not to fight as much as most other women. So yeah, I can definitely see how it would be offensive to women. I definitely, like I said, with the climate today, with all of the women being taken, even young girls and young boys being taken, and trying to really glorify the kidnapper would be definitely something that I'd be like, no.
Hmm. Yeah, and so that's it's kind of I mean, a lot of things come to mind with this, but just for one, it's sort of the we kind of we kind of look at these. There's this whole. I want to listen to this podcast. There was a time where there were like several different individuals calling in, male and female, saying things like, I'm a strong, independent woman. I'm a feminist. I do this and that for myself, whatever. But like in bed, I like to be choked and have my hair pulled and be called a bitch and a slut and stuff like this. And men saying, like, I love them and I respect them and all this and that. But in bed, I like to do those types of things to them and call them names. And they're calling and they're trying to figure out, what's wrong with me, pretty much. Why is this, do I have this sort of contradictory pleasure out of this thing, and it's like when it comes to sexual desire, I do, I've said before that I think everyone has a sexual personality and that it either goes hand in hand with who they already are, like in the Christian Grey type, someone who's dominant, controlling in every aspect of their life, or it's a complete opposite of that, where somebody like Christian Grey, who's dominant and in control all the time, is the guy who goes to the dominatrix and wants to get beaten up and tied up and be submissive because he wants to be the opposite of what he is all the time. And so we kind of, here in America, of course, we have to kind of put a moral spin on everything, just to make ourselves feel better or whatever. And it's like you find these things like, the number one fantasy, every survey will show you that the number one fantasy right now among women is the rape fantasy. And, I always find it kind of troubling because, I mean, to me, it's kind of, for once, it's contradictory because obviously if you're fantasizing about it, if you want it, it's not rape by, just by the fact that you want it, it's not. But also, of course, actual rape is a crime and something that's so harmful to people that, I find the idea of kind of sexualizing it, fantasizing about it, kind of, disturbing. I just feel like it should be called something else. I get the idea of what it is. I just feel like it should have a different name to make more sense of it and kind of make it not so, it sounds so bad. But pretty much, what comes to mind, I guess, in saying all that is like with we do pretty much, sexual nature is pretty much that part. I think one of the reasons we're so afraid of it and hide it is because it is sometimes so much in contradiction to who we typically are. It's so much the opposite of like the rest of us, or shows who we are in such a explicit kind of profound way that it's like, we get embarrassed by it. But and of course, trying to just talk about it like the moral sense, I always feel like to a degree there's going to be things that we enjoy that are going to seem, you find anybody who gets into like kinks and fetishes, there's times it's going to be a little seemingly weird or violent or intrusive. And, to me, I always say, as long as all partners are consenting, I take no issue with it. But to me, that's just sort of the nature of sexuality. It's kind of, there's like kind of like a dark side to it, it scares people. But, that's just kind of part of it in a way, I think, to a degree. I mean, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's a shadow side to everything. There's a dark and a light side to everything. There has to be a yin and a yang. So for a lot of people who are into bondage and kinks, are those people who are dominants are usually really quiet in the office, or really meek and mild, versus those who are dominant, hardcore. Like I watched Pose, and like one of the things that Mother Electra did was she was a dominatrix, and most of her clients were men who were Wall Street, like fast paced, were dominant, but they wanted cranked and held captive and all of those different things. So yeah, the dark and light side of all of this, I think for a lot of people, of course, it like you said, it brings in different morality and things like that. But a lot of it too is like when you think about sexuality, you have to think about what you like, and when you are doing those type of things, you are focusing on what you and your partner would like together versus just focusing on um, what other people will think. Unless it's something like you're molesting a kid or something like that, then of course, then that's totally different. But like if it's something that you and your partner, like you said, agree on, then pretty much okay. I mean, look at what they're saying about Jada and Will right now in August.
Right. Right. It's I haven't gotten too in depth with that because I feel like people, people have obviously they've been a couple for years, and people have been talking about their relationship, ever since they've been together or whatnot. It's just what the tabloids do. But I mean, for one, the relationship seems so solid and together that I don't even care. I'm not going to judge one way or the other, which obviously I'm open to different types of situations and whatnot when it comes to relationships and whatnot. But I haven't gotten too into that. I just feel like people mind their business. I mean, it's always the side guy or side girl that's got to come out and with this stuff and put it all out there, even though was it recent, just some years ago? I don't even know. See, I didn't get into all the details, but whatever the case, I mean, that's a whole other thing. You get into pretty much the private, the public side of these things. But there are a lot of, I'm thinking of that, there are a lot of videos, I've seen, there's all over YouTube, people share all the time of people who are in those sort of 24/7 dom sub relationships where you see, like, in some cases, let's remember they go through the whole like they call it the collar ritual. The person gets collared, and I remember one case was a woman who would literally, position herself as the man's footstool. And of course, people get up in arms about that and saying how anti-feminist it is and this and that. But it's their arrangement. It's what they like. I've seen it on the opposite side too, where the woman is the dom, the man is a sub, whatever the case, and people kind of get weirded out about that sort of thing. But it's like it's just sort of like constant power dynamic that's in place, and that kind of makes them feel the sub particularly kind of comfortable and secure, and being and playing that role and not having to make decisions and be in control. And of course, I guess get some sort of power rush to the dom. And I mean, for the most part, because of course I try never to judge, no matter what the situation is, but I was admittedly weirded out by the one where it's a couple. They're both in like their mid-20s or so, mid to late 20s, and the girl likes to pretty much dress and act and be treated like a newborn baby, like 24/7. Like, they're on YouTube, if you've ever seen it, but he like swaddles her and holds her like a baby, and she sucks the pacifier and drinks from a bottle all the time and acts like a baby. Again, not judging, but to me, that's, I mean,
something happened, and like all of those things go back to like something in your psyche that happened that they want to recreate. Like you said, safety, feeling secure, feeling being protected and taken care of. So I think sometimes people just need to
private.
Keep it private.
To me, I think that part of the reason, I mean, you can say a lot of things, but at the end of the day, I guess I have a hard time with that one, because it's like, okay, when it comes to sex, are you sexualizing that, her in this role as a newborn baby? I mean, like, how does that work? That's part of what that's not something I think they even really discussed at all. But that was sort of something I wondered, like, when it comes to that she kind of just come out of that and go back to being her adult self and taking like a different, play a different role pretty much. But I don't know. Like, that's the question. That's probably the only thing I don't want to know, and I'm almost afraid to ask. That's just kind of too disturbing. Anyway, like I said, there's always that, of course, public life and private life, and then when the two, That's the one thing. If you wanna ruin somebody's reputation, especially a politician or a celebrity or whoever, whatever, you always bring out the sex life. Whether it's Anthony Weiner or Harvey Weinstein or whoever these days. There's so many now. That's always the way people take them down. In any case, whether it's true or not, like some allegations, going pretty much, we get dismissed or whatnot, depending on the case. And everybody's going to have their opinion, take their sides, usually based on, sort of objectivity, just, how they feel about it, their own experiences or whatnot. I mean, I always try to take the attitude of just, innocent until proven guilty. Pretty much I believe in due process and that whole American legal system that we have to that degree. Not saying it's a perfect system, but to that degree, I believe in that old sort of way of thinking. But yeah, that's just a whole other thing. That's just always the way.
I think also too that goes back to Massimo and how he was able to get the people on the board when he was asking for certain things between him and the board that he was talking to and getting the money and the funding. He gave them those envelopes and showing their sexual history.
Yeah.
One lady, because everybody didn't seem phased until the one lady opened hers, and that's when she was like, "Okay, I agree. Give him what he wants." And so, you're right. So people just need to keep their stuff private.
Yeah, of course, obviously those people try to, but mafia, you're gonna get blackmailed. Remember the episode of Empire when Lucius was in prison and his lawyer was trying to get him off. He came into court like really late and he's like, "I'm sorry, Your Honor, I just recently got a hold of these, last minute this evidence or whatever." And he handed the judge this envelope, those pictures of him with a gag, ball gag in his mouth and tied down and everything. And she ruled in their favor, let Lucius go. That was it. That was the end of it. Nothing else had to be heard. He just gonna keep himself private, And at the end of the day, it's like, to me, it's kind of, okay, so what? You like to get tied down, whipped around, wear a ball gag, whatever. But, if this is like an elderly man, of course, an upstanding citizen, judge, of probably however many years, and, that's a side of himself he didn't want to share. Plus, it was possibly not with his wife if he had one, or whatever the case. So, yeah, just, it's something, of course, you don't want to share certain aspects of your life with everybody, but it's always something that, the sexologists kind of work to make people more open about it to a degree, at least with the right people, and not be so ashamed, just in general.
So my question to you, though, is, do you think that, how do you think the relationship is going to keep moving forward from here?
Well, okay, so she gets kidnapped. Apparently, they're going to, this is in the original book trilogy. I don't know how faithful the movie's going to be to that, But apparently, Massimo has some twin brother who's British, so we're going to have like a British Massimo. And she, believe it or not, she falls in love with her new captor also. So I guess it's going to be this love like, what is with this woman that she is something with her now, where she just falls so easily for anybody who gives her the time of day, or is she that starved for the attention? I don't know, because I mean, with Massimo, we see she seems to develop feelings for him after he saves her off. She falls off the boat, he rescues her. With this other guy, I don't know. But here she is, pregnant with Massimo's baby, gonna fall in love with her, the new guy, his rival, who's got her captive now. Who knows how long that takes? I don't know. But to me, I always look at the foundation of any relationship, and to me, no matter how long you might be together, if that foundation isn't solid, you're always kind of, I feel like, running from the what's that? I'm trying to think of. There's a movie. I have an image in my mind. I can't think of what movie it's from. But basically, like when some movie I see the ground is falling behind you, and they're constantly running. You get the image of going if you're constantly running from like a falling ground. As soon as you stop, it's going to catch up if you have nothing underneath you to support you. You fall. Pretty much, that's kind of the image I get. with people who, you know, have poor foundations to their relationships. You know, again, no matter how long they may last, they're just kind of on the run like that from a crumbling foundation. This is obviously not. In any other situation, who knows? These two could have met and naturally, organically, maybe develop something. But it's a whole situation he pretty much orchestrated and really forced onto her. Um, I'm talking, I think, kind of, you know, as realistic as I can, but given that it's in the real world, I guess, how do I think it would work out? I don't know. It's hard to say because I feel like it got to where you know, they went back to her home city. He met her parents. I know it's funny, you know, she didn't want him to know what he does, and I think of some other movie, Labor Day, where the guy says, if you want to fool people, just tell them the truth and never believe the truth. And so he tells them, yeah, I'm a gangster, and they just laugh it off and think he's not serious. And but that's, you know, he just pretty much got away with it. But yeah, he's pretty much kind of starts to infiltrate her real life, her world, and she's at that point not trying to run away from him. She's telling everybody she's in love with him, wants to be with him, and I don't know, it's so hard to like. I don't think it's healthy. At the end of the day, I can't ever imagine for myself starting a relationship like that and being like, yeah, I may have started this way, but you know, we're just so in love now, even though, you know, I was held captive against my will for a year or however long before, you know, that was finally released. I can't see that, you know, and I think that brings up a whole thing to me, just the whole the sort of trope we see these types of characters. I mean, we see like female stalkers, but you know, you think of more recently, it's, you know, Joe Goldberg, and this movie, and, you know, Phantom of the Opera, and Beauty and the Beast. This sort of male psychopathy, this possessiveness, this sort of narcissism that we see, where they kind of like stalk their prey and then like imprison them for however long. And, you know, in the case of somebody like the Joel Goldberg, and you thought he was doing a good thing, you know, getting rid of all those people in her life, you know, protecting her from these bad people who are influencing her negatively or whatnot. Mossman would probably do the same thing. You know, anybody who he considered a threat, or anybody who interfered with their relationship or said anything bad about him, or anyone who he just kind of perceives negatively, I feel like he's gonna just eliminate them, you know. But yeah, I don't think any relationship that starts off like this can ever really be truly successful. I think like I said, it's just really just like a case of Stockholm Syndrome at this point, even to the degree that she gets away from him for a while. She's reunited with her friends and family. It's just got in her head. I don't know. It probably, you know, the movie's probably not realistic in the sense that it probably would have taken, you know, a lot more than that, a lot longer than that. You know, we're analyzing a fictional story when in real life it probably would have taken years for her to develop that type of loyalty and connection to him, I think, more than likely. But yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think the only reason why it was able to go as fast as it did is because her partner at the beginning didn't give her any attention.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason he was able to get in as far as he could.
Right.
He wasn't getting attention at home.
Yeah, and that does ring very true to me. And I've had conversations with a friend of mine that, you know, he has said that it can be so much easier to get married. Basically, it can be so much easier if you want to. You can get married women into bed a lot more easily than single ones, because a single one just still waiting for, you know, that right guy, whereas somebody who's in an unhappy marriage, at that point they just want the attention. You know,
Yep.
they kind of let those defenses down a little bit, and there may not be somebody of the highest quality or standard guy that they would normally go after, but at that point they're more alone in a lonely marriage than they are, you know, when you're single. It's like being with somebody who makes you feel pretty much neglects you, makes you feel more lonely than just being by yourself, you know? And so in that sense, yeah, that does actually make more sense than it would if she was just single, you know?
So the moral of the story for the guys is, if you have a woman and you love her, show her you love her and communicate, because
Right.
multiple could come in and steal her from you.
Yeah, that's a very more extreme example of just your average every good day guy coming along and stealing your girl. But yeah, pretty much it could happen either way. But yeah, it's I'm definitely curious to see how it moves forward. You know, I think I really wasn't comparing it per se to anything else. I mean, I think I saw 50 Shades on TV once, and so it was probably really heavily edited. I know, whatever. I mean, it was just on TV one day, and I was like, we might as well. But I am curious to see how they move forward with the whole love triangle thing, and the twin brother and the rival mafia, whatever. And I guess in other cases, Stockholm Syndrome, and I don't know. It's very curious to me. But yeah, definitely looking forward to see how that kind of unravels. But anyway, yeah, that's about our time for today. I don't. Do you have any kind of like announcements you want to make for like your business, or I do
Um,
sometimes, but any giveaways or
any
anything got?
giveaways? Well, with my pure romance business that I do, I am actually having a end uh, Christmas in July sale. So on July 25th, you can follow me at Pure Romance by Olivia and on Facebook, and you'll be able to be a participant in that. And then that's pretty much it. My website can post down below for if you need any counseling or anything like that. I am doing some in August, focusing on women in their awakening their inner goddess. So I'm working on that for August.
All
I'm gonna
right,
do some.
sounds good. And of course, like you said, we'll have links in the description if you want to find either one of us and get more information. So thanks, you guys, for joining us. See you next time.
Thanks. Bye.